Hey everyone, welcome back to Manga Storian. Recently I went down a rabbit hole trying to do research on Deku's powers. And not really what Deku's powers are, but mostly what are the actual powers of all of the users within One For All. So then I realized, hey, I have a manga channel now and I can make a video talking about each and every one of the powers. Isn't that cool? I hope you just responded with yes, because if not, I'm talking to a screen here and a camera, so I'm going to pretend you said yes. And I'm going to also pretend you said, Benny, really, it'd be great if you told me. I'm super confused. I know probably like 2 of you are out of like everyone who's watching this, but hey, thank you for watching the video. One For All is the one that started the entire thing. Now, One For All is kind of confusing, and this is where my confusion went into the whole thing. See, originally I thought One For All was basically the ability to stockpile other powers of the previous users. Like it takes the powers from the people it goes through, and then it also gave the strength and all that other kinds of stuff out. That's not actually as true as I thought, and that's what started this research. So One For All does have the ability to pass on to the next user. By doing so, it takes the powers of the previous user, which are weakened if that user is still alive. But once they pass on, they become a vestige inside of this like mindscape that is One For All. One For All's actual power is to stockpile power inside, like in general. You can then exert that power to create the 10%, 20%, 100%. It creates the appearance of speed and strength and stuff like that. But it's like the best analogy that I read online is that it's a battery. And what it's doing is when it's not being used, it's stockpiling all that energy so it can then be exerted into like, you know, Detroit Smash and stuff like that. To make it even stronger, it also takes on the characteristics of every power it passes through. So it goes through Gear Shift, Fa Jin, Danger Sense, Black Whip, Smokescreen, and Float. But by doing so, it then gets exponentially stronger because they've all got enhanced strength, enhanced speed, enhanced everything else. So it just takes all of those abilities on top of the One For All abilities. So Deku has an enhanced strength, speed, and normal stuff that you get being a superhero. But then with the stockpiling of the battery, he can exert all that energy into those big 100%, 80%. Matter of fact, I know he had always just used the percentages. When I was reading and watching this, I always assumed that the percentages were just him saying things. But knowing how this stockpiles like a battery, it has more of a direct correlation to what he's saying. 100%, he's exerting 100%, you know, of that energy that's stored up. Then we move on to the second user. Now, Gear Shift is also kind of a confusing ability. Gear Shift allows him to go through what appears to be 4 different speeds. He can touch anything, including himself, and increase the velocity and the power of it. So he can basically go 2nd gear, 3rd gear, 4th gear, and that's how he rockets forward at full power. Bear in mind, I'm pretty sure at this point with the Dark Hero arc, we've gotten all of the powers. I read the manga. I know all the powers at this point because they're being used in the final arc. But anyway, Gear Shift kind of showed up out of nowhere and he was doing it. It's one of those things he learned in between arcs, which was kind of a confusing matter. But that's what he can basically do. He can touch himself and then speed himself up, which increases the velocity. It does have a drawback though, and I wasn't aware of this, but apparently he can't use it within 5 minutes of using it. So he can use it, rock it in, and then he can't use it again. Next up we have Fa Jin, which I'm probably mispronouncing. It's F-A-J-I-N. This is another kinetic energy kind of a thing. He can basically store up even more energy, exerting that into even more speed and power. Basically, all of these powers are some form of speed and power storing, which is why he can hit so hard with all of them combined within One For All. Danger Sense is the next ability. This is kind of like Spider Sense, but they have to have ill intent towards him. There's a moment within the manga where he's fighting against Toga and Danger Sense isn't working because she doesn't have any ill intent. She loves him. That's the reasoning behind that. But if they have ill intent, Danger Sense kicks off. But the problem is Danger Sense can actually be amplified by One For All to the point where it hurts him and takes him out of the battle. Kind of like the exact opposite of what you want, an ability that's going to warn you danger's coming. Black Whip is like, when I first saw it, it was in the movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's the one that just came out where he ends up teaming up with the guy with the talking bird and all that kinds of stuff. But it looked like Spider-Man powers. There's a lot more to it. Basically, Black Whip is his ability to like leash out and do like swinging, which is a lot of traversal kinds of stuff, but he can also wrap up people, he can bind them, he can use it with the combination of the other abilities to do even more of a forceful hit. Black Whip is basically an ability to grapple things, people, his mobility, buildings, that kind of a thing. The newest ability that you guys are seeing in the Dark Hero arc is Smoke Screen. He can create a thick cloud of purple smoke around his body, which obscures everything around him. You can't see him, you can't see what's going on, and that's what it comes from. I believe, based on my memory, he also can't see too well through it, but using his other abilities such as Danger Sense and stuff like that, he can know that you're coming through it and what's happening. So that's generally how Smoke Screen works. And then we have Float, which is what it sounds like. Float is the ability to float and fly, and it came from the last user. We only actually know, I believe, 3 or 4, we know 4 of the users, which is, I can't pronounce the names, and I'm not even gonna try to. But we know Danger Sense, Black Whip, Smoke Screen, and Float. Now, one thing you may have heard me not mention was All Might. All Might's the 8th user, and All Might didn't have powers beforehand. Now, this is the plot point I completely forgot about, that All Might had no powers before getting One for All. But yeah, All Might had no powers. It's kind of like what happened with Deku. It was just a blank slate that they could put all the powers into so he could contain everything. And so that's it. That there are a grand total of 6 additional, this is 5, 6 additional powers that are given to him, and then One for All. And then obviously All Might and him didn't bring powers to the table. And that's where we've left him at for his final battle that he's having right now with Shigaraki. And those are the powers of One for All. I hope this video was helpful to you. That's a lot quicker than I thought I was going to go through them. I mean, I could stretch this out, really talk slowly. Gear shift is the second gear now. You know what I mean? Like, be funny, but I don't think it'll work that well. I wanted to make this quick and to the point and just go over what I discovered doing my research on his powers, because I was curious. I was like, what exactly does One for All do? Because All for One stores all the powers. One for All passes between everyone. So how, I felt like I forgot a plot point, and apparently the only one I forgot was All Might, but whatever. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this kind of video, let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time right here at Mangastorian.